Let's talk about Diageo. So we're going global again, and in fact there's a wrinkle here. Diageo owns 34% of the liquor brands of Moët Hennessy, so that's an interesting one. But Diageo was formed like more than a century ago in the form of Guinness. So that was Guinness, the one half, and we've mentioned Guinness as well. That's the black, treacly, beer-like substance that is consumed up there. And then they put that together with the company that was called Grand Metropolitan. And so Diageo was born in 1997. It was a made-up name, you know, like Vodafone, Diageo. I think it's Dia and Geo, like, you know, having a fine time every day around the world. But it's best known for its liquor brands like Johnnie Walker, Smirnoff, which are, I think, number one vodka and whiskey around the world. Captain Morgan, that does well in the booze, rum area as well. Bailey's, Tanqueray, J&B, Bell's, those are the other, you know, supplementary whiskey brands, etc., etc., etc. And then a bunch of craft type single malt, all those kinds of things. Market capitalization is $70.48 billion. It's actually principally listed in London, but it's actively traded on the New York market, and that's the market cap in dollars, $70.48 billion. So also a big player. Price to earnings ratio 19.19 rather, and a dividend yield 2.21. Great brands, similar conversation, I guess, to the one about LVMH, except that, of course, Diageo is all about booze and doesn't have, you know, handbags and things going on.
Yeah, and they've been right-sizing the portfolio recently as well, so they've sold off some of their what they consider their core assets. But again, we're going to get results out from them on the 28th.
Yes,
so they're coming up fairly recently, so the numbers that we're working with are a little bit older.
The share price did a little bit of a kick higher in June, and I couldn't quite understand why. But I suppose when you look at it over 5 years, you can't see much of what's going on there.
Yeah. So no, I'm not sure why we got the kick up in June. I didn't see a trading update, but overall, you know, if you go through them, they try. It's a very competitive market as well. So I mean, you know, like Smirnoff, for example. I mean, they'll sponsor. I think they sponsored 21 festivals, you know, in this half, and they're trying to get out there. And how do they say that? They're trying to recruit more customers. They always talk about the recruitment. But it is a very difficult industry to operate.
They spend a lot of money, is what you're saying, on brand building, advertising, and other events.
And in the past, what they've actually done is they try to cut cost and reduce that spending to try and push up the margins. Because again, this is a company that's growing in sort of low single digits, and they found that was a huge step backwards. And I mean, it really put a lot of pressure on them. So it's now more, you know, if you hear the CEO Ivan Menzies talking about it, it's more about increasing productivity rather than cutting costs. And it's about getting more out of your sales force and getting more out of your product than you did previously.
Speaking of their sales force, so what I read is that because they own 34% of Moët Hennessy, which must be some historic thing, and then of course LVMH owns the balance, that means that in certain countries and regions they actually share a distribution system. So you'll have guys, the rep would be the rep for, you know, Johnnie Walker and Smirnoff at the same time as being the rep for this stuff, or at least they share offices or they share distribution systems in warehouses and that kind of thing. But I guess in some senses they compete, right? Because if you're, you know, someone that's selling, you know, Captain Morgan, in effect you're competing with the guy who sells vodka, aren't you?
No, absolutely. But if you remember, I mean, they've got a lot of different brands and they manage their sales strategy. I mean, their route to customer they manage on an individual basis. So Captain Morgan,
there'll be a brand manager whose job is
and they're trying to position that as the fun brand, whereas the Smirnoff maybe is more of the party brand. I know they get a lot into the electronic music with the Smirnoff and they're trying to make that association. Whereas I suppose the Moët would be more of an upmarket kind of brand. So again, each sales strategy and the route to customer is very different, but again, you know, their volume growth is what they're pursuing. I mean, I think it was 1.8%, you know, in January, so for last year, and it's difficult
so
to see how they
in a good year they grow like 2-3%.
How are they going to push that up to sort of? And they're saying they are confident that they'll get probably 5% volume growth, which is really the only driver that's going to push their share price.
So then it comes down to winning or eking out a little bit of market share, cutting costs, finding a way of, you know, doing stuff creatively, doing things online by way of promotions instead of conventional
and that's
stuff.
it. I mean, it's interesting that you say that. I mean, again, you know, we've said smoking is very innovative. booze is also a very innovative field. So what they're bringing out now, it's in one of their brands, is actually trying to follow global health trends. So it's gluten-free and made with real fruit juice without corn syrup. So I don't know if that if I'm health conscious, am I going to drink this sort of booze? I don't know. I probably won't drink booze.
You've got to find all sorts of ways of getting the customer excited.
But definitely.
Let's go hot or not on this one though, because
I'm going to go hot.
Time
I think
constraints.
Listening to management recently, I'm going to go hot. Obviously, I'd like to see the next set of results before I would make a buy sell decision at the moment.
That's fair.
But I think hot at this stage, if the company manages to
and there could be a bit of a crossover. So go and have a look at the articles about LVMH's sales and see whether there isn't an uptick, because there could be. If LVMH is doing well in the liquor environment, Diageo could surprise positively. Okay, good. So there we go. I'm going to go hot on that one too.